Houston, Texas. October 23, 2024. Rebecca Torres stands in the anatomy laboratory of Memorial Hermann Medical School and stares at a body that shouldn't exist. A body that was supposed to have been cremated 20 years ago. A body whose ashes she scattered at Galveston Beach. A body she's mourned for 2 decades. Her husband's body, with a titanium rod running through his left femur. Weeks ago, she saw this body and walked away. Told herself it was impossible. Told herself grief was making her see things. Then a news story changed everything. A mother who found her son's stolen body. 25 years of searching. DNA proof. If it happened to her, it could happen to Rebecca. Finding him was just the beginning. Proving it almost destroyed her. But making them pay? That was worth everything. Before we continue, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to hear this story. If you're comfortable, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. Now let me tell you what happened to Rebecca Torres and her husband David. June 15th, 2004, Rebecca Torres gets the phone call that destroys her life. She's 22 years old, 6 months pregnant, working as a teacher's aide at an elementary school in Houston. Her husband David is 28. They've been married for 3 years. He works as an electrician. They have a small apartment in Montrose. They're saving up for a house, planning for their baby, building a life. David calls her at 2 p.m. He's heading home from a job site on the north side of Houston. Says he'll pick up dinner on the way. Asks if she wants Thai food or pizza. Thai, Rebecca says, rubbing her pregnant belly. The baby wants pad Thai. David laughs. The baby wants pad Thai. Got it. Love you, Becca. Love you too. Those are the last words Rebecca ever says to her husband while he's alive. At 4:30 p.m., Rebecca's phone rings. Unknown number. She almost doesn't answer. Is this Rebecca Torres? A woman's voice. Official. Careful. Yes. This is Memorial Hermann Hospital. Your husband David Torres was brought to our emergency room at 3:45 p.m. There was a car accident on Interstate 10. Mrs. Torres, I need you to come to the hospital immediately. Rebecca's world tilts. Her hands shake. Is he okay? A pause. Too long. Please come to the hospital, Mrs. Torres. Rebecca drives to Memorial Hermann Hospital. She's shaking so badly she can barely hold the steering wheel. She parks crookedly, runs into the emergency room. A doctor meets her. Dr. Richard Kaufman. White man, 30s then, serious expression. Mrs. Torres, I'm very sorry. He touches her arm gently. Your husband was pronounced dead at 3:58 p.m. A drunk driver ran a red light and T-boned his vehicle on the driver's side. The impact was severe. He died before the ambulance arrived. Rebecca doesn't remember much after that. Someone guides her to a chair. Someone brings her water. Someone asks if there's anyone they can call. She calls her sister Nicole. Nicole arrives within 20 minutes. Nicole Torres is 25 then. Just passed the bar exam, working at a small law firm. When she gets to the hospital, she finds Rebecca in a waiting room chair, staring at nothing. Becca. Nicole kneels in front of her sister. Becca, look at me. Rebecca's voice is hollow. David's dead. I know. I'm here. I'm right here. They take Rebecca to see David's body. The viewing room in the morgue. The body is covered with a sheet, face exposed, except the face is badly damaged on the left side, swollen, bruised. The left side of his skull is caved in from the impact. The right side is better but still swollen and discolored from the trauma. Rebecca stares at the body. She knows logically this is David. The hospital says it's David. But between the damage and the swelling, she can barely recognize him. Is this your husband? A hospital staff member asks gently. Rebecca nods. She can't speak, just nods. Nicole holds her hand. Tight. They have to make arrangements. The hospital morgue director comes to talk to them. A man with a thick accent. European. Maybe Russian. His name tag says, Dmitry Volkov, morgue director. I am very sorry for your loss. Volkov says, his accent heavy. He hands Rebecca a clipboard. You will need to make arrangements with a funeral home. We can provide a list of services if you need. Rebecca can barely think. Nicole takes over, takes the clipboard, takes the list of funeral homes. 2 days later, Rebecca meets with Peaceful Rest Funeral Services. The funeral director is sympathetic, suggests cremation. Given the extent of your husband's injuries, Mrs. Torres, cremation might be easier. The left side suffered severe trauma. Open casket would require extensive reconstruction work. Rebecca doesn't want to think about David's damaged face. Cremation. Yes. Please. The funeral home quotes her $8,500. Rebecca has to drain their savings account to pay for it. We'll handle everything, the funeral director assures her. We'll coordinate with the hospital to receive your husband's body. We'll perform the cremation. You'll have his ashes within a week. Rebecca signs papers, writes a check, goes home to an empty apartment. A week later, the funeral home calls. The ashes are ready. Rebecca picks up the urn. It's heavy, heavier than she expected. She cradles it like a baby. The funeral is small. Just Rebecca, Nicole, a few friends, David's mother who flies in from California. They hold a memorial service at a small chapel. Then Rebecca drives to Galveston Beach, the beach where David proposed to her. She stands in the surf, opens the urn, scatters what she believes are David's ashes into the Gulf of Mexico. I love you, Rebecca whispers to the wind. I'll always love you. 3 months later, Rebecca gives birth to a daughter, Mia. She raises Mia alone. 20 years pass. Rebecca is 42 now, still teaching, now as a full teacher at the same elementary school. Mia is 20, pre-med student at University of Houston. Smart, ambitious, wants to be a doctor. Rebecca never remarried. Still has photos of David all over her apartment. Still talks about him with Mia. Mia never knew her father, only knows him through stories, through photos. Through the urn, Rebecca keeps on the mantle. The urn she doesn't know is filled with someone else's ashes. October 7th, 2024. Mia is doing volunteer work at Memorial Hermann Hospital, part of her pre-med requirements. She's been volunteering there for 3 months. Mia calls Rebecca one afternoon. Mom, I left my lunch at home. Can you bring it to me? I have a break in an hour. Rebecca sighs, looking at the lunch bag on her kitchen counter. Sure, baby. I'll be there. Rebecca drives to Memorial Hermann Hospital, the same hospital where David died. She hasn't been back since 2004. It makes her uncomfortable. But she goes for Mia. She parks, goes to the main entrance, texts Mia. I'm here. Where are you? Mia responds. Volunteer office, 3rd floor, West Wing. Rebecca takes the elevator to the 3rd floor, gets off, looks for signs to the West Wing. She walks down a hallway, makes a wrong turn, ends up in an unfamiliar corridor. There's a door propped open on her right. She glances in as she passes. It's a laboratory, medical equipment, microscopes, and in the center of the room, on a stainless steel table, is a body. A cadaver, partially dissected, teaching specimen. Rebecca freezes, stares. She doesn't know why she stops, doesn't know why she's looking, but something about the body pulls her attention. The cadaver is partially visible through the doorway. Skin removed, red-brown muscle tissue, plastinated. She can only see part of it from this angle. The left leg is exposed. Section to show bone structure. The femur is visible from hip to knee, and running through the center of the bone, she sees metal, a long titanium rod. Surgical screws visible at the top and bottom holding it in place. Rebecca's breath catches. She steps closer to the doorway. David had a rod like that. Motorcycle accident when he was 27, just a year before he died. Compound fracture of his left femur, emergency surgery. The surgeon said it was one of the worst breaks he'd ever seen. The rod was permanent, too risky to remove. But lots of people have femur rods. Motorcycle accidents happen. That doesn't mean anything. Rebecca forces herself to look away, shakes her head, walks quickly down the hallway until she finds Mia. Here's your lunch, baby. Rebecca hands over the bag, her hands still trembling slightly. Thanks, Mom. You okay? You look pale. Mia peers at her with concern. Fine. Just got turned around in the hallways. This place is like a maze. That night, Rebecca can't sleep. She keeps thinking about the cadaver, the femur with the titanium rod running through it. She tells herself she's being ridiculous. David was cremated. She scattered his ashes. That body in the lab couldn't possibly be him. But the image haunts her. For weeks. November 8th, 2024. Rebecca is at home grading papers when a news alert pops up on her phone. Mother finds missing son's body at Body's exhibition after 25 years. Rebecca clicks on it. Reads the article about Diana Mitchell in Atlanta. How she recognized her son's body at a museum exhibition. How it was confirmed through DNA testing. How bodies are being trafficked, stolen from morgues, sold to exhibitions and medical schools. Rebecca's hands start shaking. She reads the article again. And again. Sources say many bodies come from hospital morgues, where corrupt officials sell unclaimed or improperly documented remains. Hospital morgues. Memorial Hermann Hospital has a morgue. David died at Memorial Hermann Hospital. That cadaver she saw had a titanium rod in the femur. Just like David, the connections click together in Rebecca's mind like puzzle pieces. She grabs her phone, calls Mia. "Hey, Mom." Mia sounds cheerful. "That anatomy lab you work near at the hospital. Do they give tours?" Rebecca's voice is urgent. "Sometimes. For potential donors and families." "Why?" Mia's tone shifts to concern. "I need to see it. Can you arrange a tour?" "Mom, what's this about? Please, Mia. Just trust me." The next day, Rebecca goes to the hospital's website. They do offer public tours of the medical school facilities, including the anatomy lab, part of their donor awareness program. She signs up for the next available tour, November 12th, 4 days away. Rebecca doesn't sleep well for those 4 days. She tells herself she's wrong, that she's seeing patterns that aren't there, that grief is making her irrational. But she has to know. November 12th, Rebecca joins a tour group. 15 people, mostly older adults considering body donation. A few family members of past donors. The tour guide is a third-year medical student. White woman, mid-20s, enthusiastic about anatomy education. "Our anatomy lab is one of the finest in Houston," the student says as she leads them through corridors. "We're very grateful to our donors who make medical education possible." They enter the anatomy lab. It's a large room, fluorescent lights, multiple stainless steel tables, several bodies in various stages of dissection. "These donors have given the incredible gift of advancing medical knowledge," the guide continues. "Each cadaver teaches hundreds of medical students over several years." Rebecca's eyes scan the room, looking, searching. Then she sees him. Table 4. A male cadaver in the body's exhibition format, skin completely removed, muscles exposed in layers of red and brown plastinated tissue. Face is no longer recognizable, just muscle structure and exposed bone. Upper chest sectioned to show internal organs and skeletal structure. But it's the leg Rebecca focuses on. The left leg, the femur, the titanium rod running through the center of the bone. Rebecca's vision tunnels. She walks toward the table. The tour guide is still talking, but Rebecca doesn't hear her. She gets closer, stares at the body. There's no way to recognize who this person was. No skin, no facial features, just preserved muscle tissue in shades of red and brown. This could be anyone. The only way to identify someone would be through medical history, through surgical hardware, through bone abnormalities. The left thigh is sectioned to show muscle attachments and bone structure. The femur is fully exposed. And there it is, the long titanium rod with surgical screws at both ends. David's rod. The same placement, the same configuration. Rebecca forces herself to keep looking, to find more evidence. Her eyes move to the neck. The cervical spine is exposed to show vertebral structure. 2 of the vertebrae are fused together, C5 and C6. No disc between them, just one continuous piece of bone where there should be 2 separate vertebrae. Rebecca's hands start shaking. David had that. Born with it. Congenital cervical fusion. His doctor found it when David was 16 during x-rays for a wrestling injury. said it was incredibly rare, occurs in less than 1% of the population. David barely noticed it. Just meant his neck was slightly less flexible. 2 matches, femur rod, fused, vertebrae. Rebecca's heart is pounding. She moves closer to the table. The torso is sectioned to show internal organs and abdominal structure. And there, across the abdominal wall, she sees a mesh pattern, surgical mesh. Woven metal fibers visible where the tissue is cut away. Rebecca gasps. Actually gasps. David had hernia surgery when he was 26, 2 years before he died. They used surgical mesh to repair it. Permanent implant. He complained about it for months. Said he could feel it when he bent over. 3 markers, all matching. Rebecca's vision blurs with tears. She grabs the edge of the table to keep from falling. She forces herself to look at the head. No skin remains anywhere on the body. This is a fully plastinated specimen. The face is unrecognizable as a person. Only red-brown muscle tissue preserved in layers. Facial structure reduced to anatomical study. The right side of the jaw is fully exposed, showing bone structure and teeth. The left side, where the skull was damaged in the crash, is sectioned even further for anatomical study, showing internal skull structure. Upper jaw, right side. 3 titanium posts embedded in the bone. Dental implants in a distinctive triangular pattern. Rebecca's knees almost give out. David lost 3 teeth in a bar fight when he was 22. Before they met, but he told her the story on their second date. Showed her the implants. 3 teeth, upper right jaw. Exactly that pattern. 4 distinctive markers. Femur rod, fused vertebrae, surgical mesh, 3 dental implants. All matching David. "Ma'am, are you all right?" The tour guide approaches her, reaching out a steadying hand. Rebecca can't breathe. "That's my husband." The words tumble out in a whisper. The tour guide laughs nervously. "I'm sorry? That's my husband." Rebecca's voice gets louder. She points at the body. "That's David. David Torres. He died in 2004. I paid to have him cremated. But that's him. I can't see his face, but I can see his medical markers. That's his titanium rod in his femur. Those are his fused neck vertebrae. That's his hernia mesh. Those are his dental implants. 4 distinctive medical characteristics that all match." The other tour participants are staring now, murmuring, uncomfortable. The guide's professional smile falters. "Ma'am, I think you're mistaken. These are all anonymous donors." "I'm not mistaken." Rebecca's voice rises, echoing off the sterile walls. "Look at the femur rod. Look at the fused vertebrae. My husband had a congenital fusion of C5 and C6. That's incredibly rare. Ma'am, I need you to calm down." "I am calm." Rebecca is shaking. "Please, just check the records. David Torres died June 15th, 2004, at this hospital. Check if a body matching this description was released from your morgue." The tour guide steps back, reaches for her phone, speaks quietly into it. Within 2 minutes, security arrives. 2 guards, both large men, both looking at Rebecca like she's a threat. "Ma'am, we need you to leave the anatomy lab," one guard says firmly. "Not until someone checks the records." Rebecca plants her feet. "That's my husband. I have proof. I have his medical records showing the femur rod, the fused vertebrae, the hernia mesh, the dental implants. All 4 match this body. Ma'am, you're disrupting the educational program. Leave now or we'll escort you out." "That is my husband." Rebecca's voice breaks. Tears stream down her face. The guards each take one of her arms. Firm grips. They pull her out of the anatomy lab. The tour group watches. Some people are filming on their phones. They escort Rebecca to an administrative office, sit her down, tell her to wait. 20 minutes later, a man enters. Late 50s. White. Expensive suit. Name tag. Dr. Richard Kaufman. Hospital administrator. Rebecca recognizes him. He was the ER doctor who told her David was dead 20 years ago. Now he's an administrator. "Mrs. Torres," Kaufman says, sitting behind his desk. He folds his hands, looking at her with practiced concern. I understand you're upset. That cadaver in the anatomy lab is my husband, David Torres. He died here in 2004. I paid $8,500 to have him cremated. But he's not cremated. He's in your lab. Kaufman's expression doesn't change. Mrs. Torres, I can assure you that's impossible. All of our cadavers are from verified donors who consented to donate their bodies to medical education. Then explain the titanium rod in the left femur. David had that exact rod from a motorcycle accident. Rebecca leans forward, desperate. Many people have surgical rods in their femurs, and the fused cervical vertebrae, C5 and C6 fused together, that's congenital. It's rare. Less than 1% of the population. It's still not unique to your husband. What about the surgical mesh in the abdomen? And the 3 dental implants in the upper right jaw in a triangular pattern? Rebecca's voice is rising. All 4 of those things together? What are the odds? Kaufman stands. His concerned expression hardens. Mrs. Torres, I'm going to be frank with you. You clearly experienced trauma 20 years ago, the loss of your husband. But what you're suggesting is, frankly, it's not rational. I'm not irrational. I know my husband's medical history. You think you saw your husband in a cadaver based on surgical hardware and bone abnormalities that could belong to thousands of people. Mrs. Torres, this is a symptom of unresolved grief. I'm concerned about your mental state. Rebecca's blood runs cold. My mental state? Kaufman picks up his desk phone, presses a button. Please send Dr. Martinez to my office. Who is Dr. Martinez? Rebecca's voice is small now. Afraid. Our hospital psychiatrist. I think you need to speak with her. 5 minutes later, a woman enters. White, early 50s, wearing a white coat, Dr. Ellen Martinez. She has a tablet and a gentle, condescending smile. Mrs. Torres, I'm Dr. Martinez. She sits in the chair next to Rebecca, angling her body toward her. Dr. Kaufman called me because he's concerned about you. I don't need a psychiatrist. I need someone to verify that the cadaver in your anatomy lab is David Torres. Rebecca's voice is steady, but her hands are shaking. I understand you believe you recognized someone in our anatomy lab. Martinez's voice is soft, soothing. The voice you use with unstable people. I didn't believe it. I know it. That's David. The titanium femur rod, the fused neck vertebrae, the surgical mesh, the dental implants. All 4 match his medical records. Grief can manifest in many ways, Mrs. Torres. Seeing deceased loved ones in random places is actually quite common. It's a sign of unresolved trauma. This isn't grief. This is evidence. Physical evidence that can be verified with medical records. Martinez makes notes on her tablet. How long ago did your husband pass? 20 years. And you've been grieving for 20 years? Of course I've been grieving. But that doesn't mean I'm hallucinating. Rebecca's voice rises with frustration. No one said hallucinating. Martinez's smile is patient. But grief, especially prolonged grief, can cause us to see patterns where none exist, to desperately want to find our loved ones. I am not crazy. Rebecca stands. Both Kaufman and Martinez stand too. No one's saying you're crazy, Kaufman says, but his tone suggests otherwise. But we are concerned. Dr. Martinez, what's your professional opinion? Martinez looks at Rebecca, studies her. Mrs. Torres, have you been under unusual stress lately? Problems sleeping? Mood changes? Anxiety? I sleep fine. My mood is fine. Until I found my husband's body in your lab. Do you have any history of mental health issues? Depression? Anxiety disorders? Rebecca stares at her. No. I'm a teacher. I have a daughter. I have a normal life. I'm not mentally ill. Sometimes trauma resurfaces years later. This isn't trauma resurfacing. This is me finding my husband. Kaufman and Martinez exchange a look. A look Rebecca recognizes. The look healthcare providers give each other when dealing with someone they think is unstable. Mrs. Torres, Kaufman says carefully. Dr. Martinez and I agree that you're experiencing a crisis. For your own safety, we're recommending a 72-hour psychiatric hold. The words hit Rebecca like a physical blow. What? A 72-hour evaluation at our psychiatric facility. just to make sure you're not a danger to yourself or others. I'm not a danger to anyone. Rebecca's voice is shrill now, panicked. You're trying to lock me up because I found out the truth. Mrs. Torres, please calm down. Martinez reaches toward her. Rebecca jerks away. Don't touch me. You can't do this. I know my rights. Kaufman picks up his phone again. Security to Administration Office 3. We need assistance with an involuntary psychiatric hold. No. Rebecca backs toward the door. You can't do this. I'm not crazy. That's David in there. Security arrives. The same two guards from before. They approach Rebecca. Ma'am, please don't make this difficult, one says, reaching for her arm. Rebecca's phone starts ringing in her purse. She fumbles for it, sees the caller ID, Nicole, her sister. Her sister, who's an attorney. Rebecca answers. Her voice is shaking. Nicole, they're trying to commit me. I'm at Memorial Hermann Hospital and they're trying to lock me in a psych ward and I need you right now. She can hear Nicole's sharp intake of breath. Do not let them touch you. I'm coming. I'm 10 minutes away. Do not sign anything. Do not go anywhere with them. They have security here. Put the administrator on the phone. Now. Rebecca holds out her phone to Kaufman with a trembling hand. My sister wants to talk to you. She's an attorney. Kaufman's expression tightens. He takes the phone. This is Dr. Kaufman. His voice is clipped. Rebecca can't hear Nicole's side, but she can see Kaufman's face changing, getting more annoyed, then concerned, then defensive. Miss Torres, your sister is experiencing a psychiatric crisis. Kaufman pauses, listening. Yes, but our professional judgment. Another pause. His jaw clenches. That's not necessary. We're simply trying to help. A longer pause. His face goes pale. I see. Fine. We'll wait. He hands the phone back to Rebecca. Nicole's voice is steel. Do not move. Do not say anything else. I'm 8 minutes away. Nicole Torres arrives 6 minutes later. She's 45 now. Civil rights attorney for 15 years. She's wearing a blazer and slacks and carrying a briefcase. Her expression could freeze fire. She walks into the administrator's office without knocking. I'm Nicole Torres, Rebecca Torres's attorney and sister. She hands business cards to Kaufman and Martinez. You will not be involuntarily committing my client. Miss Torres, Kaufman says, standing. He straightens his tie. Your sister is experiencing a psychotic episode. My sister made a factual claim that can be easily verified. Did anyone examine the cadaver's medical characteristics and compare them to David Torres's documented medical history? We don't need to indulge her delusions. So you're refusing to verify her claim before attempting involuntary commitment? Nicole's voice is sharp. That's false imprisonment. I can have a lawsuit filed within the hour. And I will. Martinez interjects. We're just concerned for your sister's well-being. Then address her concerns. She says a cadaver in your anatomy lab has 4 distinctive medical characteristics that match her deceased husband. A titanium rod in the left femur, fused C5 and C6 vertebrae, surgical mesh in the abdomen, 3 dental implants in a triangular pattern in the upper right jaw. That takes less than 5 minutes to verify with medical records. Why won't you check? Kaufman and Martinez exchange another glance. Because, Nicole continues, her voice getting harder, if you check those characteristics and they do match David Torres's medical records, then you have to explain how my sister's husband, who was supposed to be cremated, ended up as an anatomy lab specimen. And that opens you up to massive liability. That's ridiculous. Kaufman starts. Is it? Then prove it. Verify the characteristics. If Rebecca is wrong, you can document her making false claims and pursue your psychiatric hold with actual evidence. If she's right, then we have a very different conversation. Silence. Kaufman's face is red. I thought so, Nicole says coldly. She turns to Rebecca. Come on, we're leaving. Miss Torres, you can't just... Martinez begins. Yes, I can. My sister is not a danger to herself or others. She's not mentally ill. She's making a factual claim about physical evidence. Unless you have actual evidence of psychiatric illness, which you don't, Because you just met her 30 minutes ago, you have no legal grounds for involuntary commitment. If you try to stop us, I'll have both of you arrested for unlawful imprisonment, and I'll sue this hospital for everything it's worth. Nicole takes Rebecca's arm gently. Let's go. They walk out. Security doesn't stop them. Kaufman doesn't stop them. Outside the hospital, Rebecca breaks down, sobs into Nicole's shoulder. They were going to lock me up. They were going to call me crazy and lock me away. Nicole holds her tight. I know, but you're safe now. I've got you. Nicole, it's him. It's really him. David's in there. I believe you. Now we're going to prove it. Nicole's jaw is set with determination. They sit in Nicole's car. Nicole pulls out her laptop, opens it. Tell me everything. From the beginning, Rebecca does. The first time she saw the cadaver weeks ago, dismissing it, then seeing the news about Diana Mitchell, going back on the tour, recognizing David, the 4 markers, the security, Kaufman trying to commit her. Nicole takes notes. Okay. First thing we do is file a police report. They drive directly to Houston Police Department. Asked to speak with a detective. They're directed to Detective Mark Stevens. White man, 50s. Looks tired and skeptical. Rebecca sits across from him. Nicole beside her. They're in a small interview room. Detective Stevens. Nicole begins, her voice professional. We're here to report a suspected case of body trafficking. Stevens looks up from his notepad, raises an eyebrow. Body trafficking? Rebecca speaks. My husband, David Torres, died in a car accident in June 2004. He was pronounced dead at Memorial Hermann Hospital. I paid for cremation services. But today I found his body, his actual body, in the hospital's anatomy lab, being used as a teaching cadaver. Stevens blinks, looks at Nicole, looks back at Rebecca. You think your husband, who died 20 years ago, is in an anatomy lab? I know he is. He has 4 distinctive medical characteristics. A titanium rod in his left femur from a motorcycle accident. Fused C5 and C6 vertebrae, a congenital condition. Surgical mesh in his abdomen from hernia repair. And 3 dental implants in a triangular pattern in his upper right jaw. Stevens leans back in his chair, crosses his arms. Ma'am, did you identify your husband's body in 2004? Yes. At the hospital morgue. And you arranged for cremation? Yes. Through Peaceful Rest funeral services. And they gave you ashes? Yes. I scattered them at Galveston Beach. Stevens spreads his hands. So, you identified the body. It was cremated. You got the ashes. And now, 20 years later, you think you saw your husband in an anatomy lab? I didn't think I saw him. I know I saw him. Rebecca's frustration is mounting. Based on what? Surgical hardware and bone abnormalities? Based on 4 distinctive markers. Nicole interjects. She pulls out her phone, shows Stevens documents. This is David Torres's medical history. X-rays showing the titanium femur rod from a 2003 motorcycle accident when he was 27 years old. Medical documentation of congenital cervical fusion diagnosed when he was 16. Surgical records from hernia repair in 2002 showing mesh implantation. Dental records showing 3 implants placed in 1998. My sister identified all 4 characteristics on the cadaver. Stevens looks at the documents. His expression doesn't change. Okay, so your husband had some surgical procedures and a bone abnormality. Lots of people have those. Not all 4 together, Nicole says. She leans forward. Detective, this is a verifiable claim. The probability of all 4 characteristics matching by random chance is astronomically low. All you have to do is get the hospital to confirm those characteristics exist on that specific cadaver and compare them to David's records. You want me to get a warrant to examine a medical school's teaching cadaver because your sister thinks it's her dead husband? Stevens' tone is incredulous. Yes. Stevens shakes his head, closes his notebook. Miss Torres, no judge is going to issue that warrant. Your sister identified her husband's body 20 years ago. She got cremation ashes. Now she's claiming the hospital stole his body? That's I'm sorry, but that's not credible. Rebecca's voice rises. I'm not lying. I didn't say you're lying, Stephen says, but his tone suggests he thinks she's unstable. But grief can make people see things that aren't there. Have you considered talking to a therapist? The hospital already tried to lock me in a psych ward for this, Rebecca says bitterly. I don't need therapy. I need you to investigate. Stephen stands. I'm sorry for your loss, but there's nothing to investigate here. You're mistaken about what you saw. I'm not mistaken. Ma'am, with all respect, you are. I'm not going to waste department resources on this. Stevens opens the door. Interview over. Outside the police station, Rebecca wants to scream. He didn't even try. I know, Nicole says. Her voice is tight with anger. But we don't need him. What do? We build the case ourselves, and we sue everyone involved. Nicole starts investigating immediately. She pulls David's death certificate from the county records, reviews it. Death certificate states, David Torres. Date of death, June 15th, 2004. Place of death, Memorial, Herman Hospital. Cause of death, blunt force trauma from motor vehicle accident. She pulls funeral home records, finds the contract Rebecca signed. Cremation services, $8,500 paid. She calls Peaceful Rest Funeral Services. The same funeral home is still in business. The owner answers, This is attorney Nicole Torres. I'm investigating a case involving one of your cremations from 2004. David Torres. Can you verify the cremation took place? The owner's voice is cautious. That was 20 years ago, ma'am. Do you have records? I'd have to look. Can I ask what this is about? I'm investigating whether the cremation actually occurred or whether you provided fraudulent ashes. Long pause. That's a serious accusation. It's a serious question. Did you cremate David Torres or not? I'll have to call you back. I need to check our records. The owner never calls back. When Nicole calls again the next day, the owner says he's too busy to talk. When she calls the day after, he says he's referred the matter to his attorney. He's hiding something, Nicole tells Rebecca. If he had nothing to hide, he'd just show us the cremation records. Nicole hires a private investigator. Raymond Torres, no relation. Former Houston PD detective. Now runs a PI firm. Torres starts digging into Memorial Hermann Hospital's morgue operations. Specifically, the period from 2004 to present. He finds that the morgue director during that entire period was a man named Dmitry Volkov, Russian immigrant. Came to the United States in 1998. Got hired as morgue director at Memorial Hermann in 2001. Torres investigates Volkov's financials, gets creative, checks property records, vehicle registrations, court records. He calls Nicole with his findings. Your morgue director is living way above his means. How so? Nicole puts him on speaker. Rebecca listens intently. Volkov's salary as morgue director is about $75,000 per year, but he owns a house in River Oaks worth $2.3 million. He owns 3 rental properties worth a combined $1.2 million. He drives a Mercedes S-Class. His kids go to private school that costs $40,000 per year per kid. He takes international vacations twice a year. Nicole does mental math. That's impossible on $75,000. Exactly. So where's the money coming from? Torres keeps digging. Contacts medical schools, anatomy departments. Asks about cadaver sourcing. He learns that medical schools pay between $15,000 and $25,000 for a properly prepared cadaver. It's legal. Bodies can be donated to science. But there are strict regulations, documentation, consent forms. Torres does more digging, finds that Volkov has been the point of contact for cadaver transfers from Memorial Hermann to multiple medical schools across Texas. Over 20 years, dozens of bodies. If he's selling bodies without proper consent, Torres tells Nicole, and pocketing the money, we're talking about nearly $1 million. Nicole hangs up, looks at Rebecca. We have motive. Volkov is selling bodies for profit, including David's. What do we do now? Rebecca asks, hope and fear mixing in her voice. We confront the hospital. Nicole schedules a meeting with Memorial Hermann's legal department. She brings Rebecca. She brings a folder 6 inches thick with evidence. They sit across from the hospital's attorney, a white man in his 50s named Gerald Preston. Mr. Preston, Nicole begins, spreading documents on the conference table. My client's husband died at this hospital in 2004. She paid for cremation, but his body was never cremated. It's currently in your anatomy lab. Preston looks skeptical. That's a serious allegation. It's a verifiable fact. Nicole slides documents across the table. These are David Torres's medical records. X-rays showing a titanium rod in his left femur. Medical documentation of fused C5 and C6 cervical vertebrae. Surgical records showing abdominal mesh implantation. Dental records showing 3 implants in the upper right jaw. Preston looks at the documents. His expression doesn't change. My client observed all 4 characteristics on a cadaver in your anatomy lab during a public tour on November 12th. Many people have surgical hardware and bone abnormalities. Not all 4 together. Nicole's voice is hard. The probability of all 4 characteristics matching by random chance is less than 1 in 50,000. Check the cadaver. Verify the characteristics. If they don't match, then my client is wrong, and we'll drop this. If they do match, then you have to explain how her husband ended up in your lab. Preston shifts uncomfortably. I'll have to consult with our administration. No, you'll verify the characteristics today, or I'm filing a lawsuit tomorrow morning and calling every news outlet in Houston. Preston pales. That's not necessary. Then, verify the characteristics. Preston leaves the conference room. He's gone for 20 minutes. When he comes back, his face is ashen. The cadaver in question does have the characteristics you described. Titanium femur rod, fused C5 and C6 vertebrae, abdominal mesh, 3 dental implants in triangular pattern, upper right jaw. He sits down heavily. Rebecca gasps, grabs Nicole's hand. It's real. It's really David. I want my husband's body released immediately, Rebecca says. Her voice shakes. I want a full investigation. And I want to know who did this. Preston runs his hand over his face. Mrs. Torres, I need you to understand. If what you're saying is true, this is a criminal matter. The hospital will cooperate fully with any investigation. But this will take time. No. Nicole's voice cuts like a knife. This is what's going to happen. You're going to allow DNA testing of that cadaver within 48 hours. You're going to preserve all records related to David Torres's death and body disposition. You're going to place Dmitry Volkov on administrative leave immediately. And you're going to report this to law enforcement, or I'm going public with everything I know. Miss Torres, you have to understand the hospital's position. I understand the hospital is liable for body trafficking, fraud, and emotional distress. I understand you're looking at tens of millions in damages. What you need to understand is that I'm offering you a chance to get ahead of this. Cooperate now, or get destroyed in court later. Preston swallows hard. I'll need to speak with our board. You have 24 hours. The next day, the hospital agrees to DNA testing. They take a tissue sample from the cadaver. They also collect DNA from Rebecca and from Mia. The samples go to a forensic lab. Processing time, 2 weeks. 2 weeks of hell. Rebecca can't eat, can't sleep, just waits. Mia holds her hand. Mom, if it's really Dad, we're finally going to be able to bury him properly. Rebecca nods, can't speak through her tears. Nicole works around the clock. She contacts the Texas Attorney General's office, files a criminal complaint against Dmitry Volkov, files a civil lawsuit against Memorial Hermann Hospital, Volkov, and Peaceful Rest Funeral Services. The hospital tries to settle, offers $50,000, then $100,000, then $250,000. Nicole turns down every offer. This isn't about money, Nicole tells Preston. This is about justice. The DNA results come back on November 30th. Nicole calls Rebecca. Becca, sit down. Rebecca sits on her couch. Her hands shake. Tell me, it's a match. 99.97%. The cadaver is David. Rebecca's world stops. She knew. She knew all along. But having it confirmed, she falls to her knees and sobs. 20 years. 20 years of mourning a man who wasn't buried, who wasn't cremated, who was stolen and sold and used for profit. The news breaks within hours. Houston media picks it up, then national media, CNN, MSNBC, everyone covering the story. Houston woman finds dead husband's body in hospital anatomy lab after 20 years. The story explodes. Social media erupts. Public outrage is massive. Texas Attorney General opens a criminal investigation. A team of investigators descends on Memorial Hermann Hospital. They raid the morgue. They raid Volkov's office. They raid his home. They find evidence. Lots of evidence. A ledger, handwritten, in Volkov's handwriting, documenting 47 bodies sold over 20 years. Names, dates, amounts, including David Torres. Sold to Memorial Hermann Medical School for $18,000. Bank records showing deposits totaling $980,000. Payments to Volkov from various medical schools. Forged cremation certificates. Blank forms with Peaceful Rest Funeral Services letterhead. Email correspondence between Volkov and the funeral homeowner, discussing payment splits, coordinating body transfers. It's a trafficking ring. Volkov at the hospital. The funeral homeowner as accomplice. They've been doing this for decades. On December 5th, arrests are made. Dmitry Volkov is arrested at his home, charged with trafficking in human remains, fraud, theft, falsifying government documents, abuse of corpse. The funeral home owner is arrested at his business, charged with conspiracy, fraud, theft. Both are held without bail. The media coverage is relentless. Protesters gather outside Memorial Hermann Hospital. Families of past donors demand investigations. Medical schools across Texas suspend cadaver acquisitions pending review. The hospital's stock price plummets. The CEO resigns. The entire morgue staff is placed on leave. Dr. Richard Kaufman, the administrator who tried to commit Rebecca, is fired, officially for failure to properly investigate credible claims, unofficially because he tried to silence a whistleblower. Dr. Ellen Martinez, the psychiatrist, is also fired. Her medical license is under review by the Texas Medical Board for attempting to use psychiatric authority to discredit a truthful complaint. Detective Mark Stevens, the cop who dismissed Rebecca, receives an official reprimand, required to complete training on victim sensitivity and proper investigation procedures. Volkov's trial begins in March 2025. He pleads not guilty, claims he thought the bodies were properly donated. The prosecution presents the ledger, the bank records, Rebecca's testimony, Mia's testimony, testimony from 46 other families whose loved ones were stolen. The jury deliberates for 8 hours. Verdict: guilty on all counts. Sentencing: 45 years in federal prison. He's 55. He'll die there. The judge's statement: Mr. Volkov, you turned a hospital morgue into a marketplace for human bodies. You exploited grieving families for profit. You stole 47 people's remains and sold them like commodities. You will spend the rest of your life in prison. I hope the families you devastated can find some measure of peace. Volkov shows no emotion, just stares straight ahead as they take him away in handcuffs. The funeral homeowner pleads guilty in exchange for testimony against Volkov. He gets 15 years. Must pay full restitution to all families. The civil lawsuit against Memorial Hermann Hospital goes to trial in May 2025. Nicole represents Rebecca and 46 other families in a class action lawsuit. The evidence is overwhelming. The hospital's negligent oversight allowed Volkov to operate for 20 years. Their administration tried to silence Rebecca when she made credible claims. Their staff attempted to unlawfully commit her to psychiatric care. The hospital tries to claim Volkov was a rogue employee acting alone, that they had no knowledge of his activities. Nicole destroys that argument. Shows that hospital administration ignored red flags, that there were no oversight procedures, that when Rebecca made her complaint, instead of investigating, they tried to silence her. The jury awards the plaintiffs $5 million, but that's not all. The Texas Medical Board conducts its own investigation, finds systemic failures in the hospital's morgue oversight, violations of state regulations, inadequate documentation procedures. The hospital is fined $10 million by the Texas Medical Board for systemic failures in morgue oversight and patient rights violations. Additionally, the hospital must implement new morgue procedures with independent oversight, establish a patient advocate office for complaints, provide quarterly reports to the medical board for 5 years, issue public apology to all affected families, create a memorial fund for victims' families. Dr. Kaufman and Dr. Martinez are both stripped of hospital privileges statewide. Kaufman's medical license is suspended for 2 years. Martinez's license is suspended for 1 year pending ethics review. But the trial isn't just about money. It's about accountability. Nicole forces the hospital to admit, on record, in open court, that they failed, that their negligence enabled the trafficking of 47 bodies, that their attempt to silence Rebecca by threatening psychiatric commitment was wrong, unlawful, and a violation of her rights. The hospital CEO appears in person to read the apology. On behalf of Memorial Hermann Hospital, I want to apologize to Rebecca Torres, her daughter Mia, and the families of all 47 victims. Our institution failed you. We failed to properly oversee our morgue operations. We failed to investigate credible complaints. We failed to protect the dignity of the deceased. We attempted to silence a woman who was telling the truth. We are deeply, profoundly sorry. We are implementing immediate changes to ensure this never happens again. David's body is finally released to Rebecca in June 2025, 21 years after his death. 21 years after Rebecca thought she cremated him. The funeral is at a small chapel in Houston. Rebecca, Mia, Nicole, and a few close friends attend. It's quiet, peaceful. Rebecca chose cremation again. This time, she's present for the entire process, watches them place David's body in the crematorium, receives his ashes directly. This time, the ashes are real. They drive to Galveston Beach, the same beach where Rebecca scattered fake ashes 20 years ago. Rebecca, Mia, and Nicole stand in the surf. Rebecca holds the urn. "I'm so sorry, baby." Rebecca's voice breaks. "I'm sorry it took me so long to bring you home. I'm sorry for what they did to you. But you're free now. You're finally free." She opens the urn, the real ashes this time, scatters them into the Gulf of Mexico. Mia is crying. Nicole has her arm around her niece. "Goodbye, Daddy," Mia whispers to the wind. She never knew him, but she fought for him. Rebecca stands in the water for a long time, watching the waves, watching the ashes disappear into the sea. Finally, she reaches into her pocket, pulls out a small velvet box, opens it, her wedding ring, the ring she's worn for 23 years. She looks at it, remembers David putting it on her finger, remembers their wedding day, remembers their life together. She kisses the ring, whispers, "I love you," one more time. Then she puts the ring back in the box, closes it, puts it back in her pocket. She doesn't throw it away, doesn't scatter it, just takes it off, because she kept her promise. In sickness and in health, till death do us part. And even after death, through body trafficking and institutional corruption and attempted psychiatric commitment, she fought for him. Now she can let go. 6 months later, December 2025, Rebecca stands at a podium in the Texas state capitol. She's testifying before the state legislature. They're considering a new law, the David Torres Act. The act would require strict oversight of hospital morgues, mandatory audits, independent inspections, criminal penalties for body trafficking, protections for whistleblowers who report suspected trafficking, mandatory verification of cremation. "My name is Rebecca Torres," she begins. Her voice is strong now, steady. 21 years ago, I lost my husband David in a car accident. I paid to have him cremated, but his body was stolen, sold, used for profit. She tells her story. The whole story. Finding David, being dismissed, almost being committed to a psychiatric ward, fighting for the truth. The people who did this to David and to 46 other families counted on silence. They counted on grief making us vulnerable. They counted on institutions protecting themselves instead of seeking truth. They counted on no one believing us if we spoke up. She pauses, looks at the legislators. But I had something they didn't count on. I had my sister, an attorney who believed me, who fought with me, who wouldn't let them silence me, who saved me from being locked in a psychiatric ward for telling the truth. Nicole is in the audience, wipes her eyes. Not everyone has a sister who's a lawyer. Not everyone can fight institutions. That's why we need this law. So that what happened to David, what happened to all of us, never happens again. So that families are protected. So that whistleblowers can't be silenced by threats of psychiatric commitment. So that the truth matters more than institutional reputation. The legislators vote. The David Torres Act passes unanimously. Governor signs it into law in January 2026. Rebecca and Mia are there for the signing. The pen the governor uses is given to Rebecca as a keepsake. After the ceremony, a reporter asks Rebecca, "How does it feel, getting justice after all this time?" Rebecca considers the question. Justice isn't one thing. Justice is holding Dmitry Volkov accountable. He's in prison now. He'll die there. That's justice. Justice is the hospital being fined $15 million, changing their procedures, admitting they were wrong. That's justice. Justice is Dr. Kaufman being fired for trying to silence me. That's justice. She pauses, looks at Mia standing beside her. But the most important justice? I got to bury my husband properly. I got to say goodbye to him for real. I got to give my daughter closure about her father. That's justice too. Do you regret fighting so hard, risking so much? Another reporter asks. Rebecca shakes her head firmly. I regret that I had to fight at all. But no, I don't regret fighting, because they tried to silence me, tried to call me crazy, tried to lock me away, and I refused. I kept pushing until someone listened, until the truth came out. She looks directly at the camera. If there's anyone watching this who thinks they've found their loved one in a museum, in a lab, anywhere they shouldn't be, don't let anyone tell you you're crazy. Don't let anyone silence you. Keep fighting, because you might be right, and you deserve the truth. That clip goes viral. Millions of views, thousands of comments from people sharing their own stories of dismissed claims, of being called crazy for telling an inconvenient truth, of institutions protecting themselves. Rebecca's case changes things. Laws change, procedures change, oversight changes. But for Rebecca, the most important change is personal. She's no longer defined by grief, no longer the widow who never moved on. She's the woman who fought, who won, who changed the system. She's still a teacher, still lives in Houston, still has Sunday dinners with Nicole and Mia. But she's different now. Stronger, fiercer, less willing to accept being dismissed. A year after David's burial, Rebecca goes on a date. First date in 21 years. It's terrifying, exhilarating, strange. The man is nice. A teacher at another school. Divorced, kind eyes. He asks about her wedding ring. She's not wearing it anymore, but he notices the slight indentation on her finger. I was married, Rebecca says. My husband died. It took me a long time to be ready to date again. She doesn't tell him the whole story on the first date. Maybe someday, but not yet. The date goes well. They see each other again. And again. Rebecca is learning to live again. Not just survive, not just search, but live. She visits David's grave sometimes. There's a headstone now, in a cemetery in Houston, near where they used to live. David Michael Torres, June 3, 1976. June 15, 2004. Beloved husband and father, stolen for 21 years, brought home by love and determination. Rest now. You are free. Rebecca stands there one Sunday morning, places fresh flowers. I'm doing okay, David, she says quietly. Mia's in medical school now. She wants to be a doctor. She wants to help people. I think you'd be proud. Nicole is still fighting the good fight. She's taking on more body trafficking cases, helping other families. She's amazing. And me? I'm living. Finally, after 21 years of being frozen in grief, I'm moving forward. She touches the headstone. I'll always love you. You'll always be part of me. But I'm not waiting anymore. I'm not searching anymore. You're home. You're at peace. And now I can be at peace too. She walks away from the grave. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. Rebecca Torres fought institutions, fought corruption, fought people who tried to silence her, and she won. That's the story. A wife who thought her husband died in a car crash, who scattered ashes that weren't him, who found him 20 years later in a hospital's teaching display, who was almost locked in a psychiatric ward for telling the truth, who had a sister that saved her, who fought until justice was served. Dmitry Volkov is in prison for 45 years. The funeral home owner is in prison for 15 years. The hospital paid $15 million in fines and damages. Administrators were fired, procedures changed, laws passed. But most importantly, David Torres is home, properly buried, at peace, and Rebecca Torres is free.